So let's get started. We'll get started with our work session. And to review our City Council procedure on Thursday, we have an invocation by Father Greg. Excited to see him. Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Pro Tem. Last time we consulted, call you, I'm free. Then we have an acceptance of agenda by Councilman Kilmurray. And we have presentations and awards, a proclamation declaring October 13th through the 19th as Women in Business Week. That will be done by Diana. Excellent. And also the economic development. Yes, so we have that. And the proclamation to go along with that. We have our city manager report. Sir?
Thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of council. Our request for proposals for employee health benefits broker and consulting pre-bid was held, or pre-proposal conference was held September 11th. There were 3 interested firms in attendance, so that's a good thing. And those proposals are due next week on October 13th. The proposals for the firefighter medical evaluations were received, and you have a pending award to Dr. Wild to perform those services for us. And I just learned that there will be no JPA meeting for CCOM this month due to a lack of items on the agenda. So if I have any more, I'll let you know Thursday.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for us? So we'll proceed on. And we have our consent agenda by Councilman Rodriguez. Sir, are you online yet? No?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, yes. Good to have you, sir. And with
Thank
any
you. Good to be here.
questions, discussions on the consent agenda? All right, thank you. And we'll proceed with our public hearing. Resolution 2025-078, staff report, Ms. Adams.
McCaw, members of council, this item is an application for an interim owner transfer of a bar liquor license located down the road at High Heat Sports Grill. The applicant, Kevin Cramber, is applying as the agent on behalf of LOAWS, I don't know how to pronounce that, Enterprises. The notice of the public hearing is posted on the facility, has been and will have been up for over 20 days, which is the required time of posting for these notices of public hearing. We have received no comments from the public, pro or con. The police department has done their background check of Mr. Cramber and has no objection with this going forward. And if approved Thursday night, it will be forwarded to the liquor board for final action.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions, comments for Ms. Adams? Lead on to item number 4, resolution 2025-079, staff report, Ms. Adams again.
Mayor McCaw, members of council, this is the item that was on the agenda a couple meetings ago to update the city business license code of ordinance. Mr. Councilmember Kilmurray requested that we pull it off so that we could kind of massage the language a little bit. This item is generally revising the text so that it reflects what the city does and to clarify areas that were a little unclear, mostly to our public who couldn't understand what it meant. We did remove some sections that are addressed in other parts of the code, specifically the carnival section, because that's something that's handled in the Community Development Code. Councilmember Kilmurray was interested in the language that related to the nonprofits. We tightened that up and made sure it was said the exact same way all the way through the code, so there's no question of what we mean. We mean tax-exempt nonprofit certified by the government. There's no not-for-profit or any other wording in there that might lead someone to try and slide in from a different direction. And based on Councilmember Rodriguez's request, we cleaned up the language on the temporary vendor permits to read that if they exceed the 6 in any year, they have to apply for a license. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I do apologize. It's a lot of red, a lot of line out, but once it's done, it will be much more understandable.
Excellent. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Got a question. Yeah, thanks, Jill, for clarifying that for me, by the way. And my primary questions and my concern had to do with the exemptions. And Ms. Adams clarified for me that all of those exemptions actually occur within state code. And that's why, and so it was almost an accusation by me that we were just kind of doing this haphazard, which wasn't true because we were following what the state requirements were. And this change just clarified, put it all in one spot. So.
And I would add too that one of the reasons that the tax exempt, because the business license fees are often looked on as a tax, and so this is just cleaner if they have the proper either IRS or state certification that they are a tax exempt nonprofit, then we're all good.
Excellent. Any more questions, comments? Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Jill, for that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. Anything we can do to make it easier for our small businesses and people trying to start somewhere or just doing pop-up businesses, I really, really appreciate that. When they come to either online or City Hall to get a small license, they need one. Thank you.
All right, we proceed to item number 5, resolution 2025-080. Staff report, Chief.
Hey, good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. This particular resolution, I'm seeking approval of a intergovernmental agreement with Huachuca City for animal care services. And this is a renewal of, we've already had an existing agreement in place. A little bit of background, we have 2 IGAs for animal control services. We also have one with Fort Huachuca. That one looks very different, has some different language to it, some different requirements for very specific reasons. We are also in the works of renewing that one, and that'll go before council not before too long. But with the IGA for Huachuca City, the a little bit of history. Back in 2018, their shelter had a fire, electrical fire, I believe, and we took on all their animals at that time to help them out that weekend. And then as they got rid of a lot of those animals, got them adopted out, they were looking for some long-term assistance with animal care services. And so from 2019 until today, we've had an existing agreement in place with them that had a kind of a menu of fees based on the animal and what the animal needed. We looked at a couple things as we renewed this IGA and took some data from the last 5 years that we've had this IGA in place and take a look at what we've learned from the last 5 years. And what we've learned is that on average, about 20 animals are from Huachuca City are given to us to take care of, and we essentially take them in and rehome them. And by and large, those are dogs. Also, by and large, those do not get returned back to Huachuca City residents. A situation of somebody turning in a dog and then it was lost and it was returned back to their owner a day later, that's a different situation. It doesn't happen too often. This particular IGA covers after 72 hours or a week, depending on circumstances, they become property of the shelter, in which case we need to kind of recover our costs for the long-term care in rehoming these animals. And so that's what this agreement is really addressing. So we also learned that the menu item in the previous IGA for whether the dog needed one vaccination versus another vaccination was very cumbersome to manage and bill for. And both parties, both Huachuca City and the city, agreed to do a single cost per animal. So we approached Huachuca City with a new fee structure and looking at the average cost per animal. Some of them, I will tell you, they can exceed over $800 for the city. And there's a lot of variance to this. If we take in an animal and we adopt it out in a month, that's different than an animal we've had for 8 months. And so you see a lot of variance within that average number. And so we approached Huachuca City with a fee structure that is progressively increasing every year till we get to a point where we feel that we are recovering all our costs on average for these animals. And there's a little bit of a sticker shock, but we worked through it with Huachuca City. They had already budgeted this year for their maximum amount line item for this particular service was $5,000. And since we know that We're on average get about 20 animals a year from them. We asked them to exhaust that budget, and that's how we came up with the 250 for this particular year. We are asking for an increase of $100 per animal per year for the next 5 years. And as we get toward the latter part of this agreement, we're at an area where we feel we're recovering all our costs that we put into these animals. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. So after 72 hours, do the Huachuca City residents pay a fee if they come to get their animal
No, they do not.
visual? Yeah.
No, they do not. So if they turn their animal in, it's only if we have to take them in permanently. And so, interestingly, they don't bring the animal to the shelter. Their animal control officer takes it to us. And to be equivalent, I'm going to share with you because you'll see our Fort Huachuca agreement coming down the road. We were charging a fee to Fort Huachuca residents, but we are no longer going to be doing that in the next
To
agreement.
surrender,
Yeah, that's correct.
but not to retrieve the animal.
No.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna ask that because I saw we were charging $75 for Fort Huachuca. Nothing for the city, but a Huachuca City resident can surrender an animal and not pay.
Correct.
Right.
Actually, the city of Huachuca City pays for it. If they surrender it and we take it in, that animal is billed to Huachuca City.
Okay.
We're covering our costs that way. Fort Huachuca, residents on Fort Huachuca are technically part of our population, and that's why we're not going to be charging them.
That's why we're gonna stop charging
Yes.
them? Okay.
We actually stopped that already, by the way.
Oh, we gotta update the website then. Somebody has to update that. Okay. I think you answered my other questions when you were, like, the average cost is on the high end it's 800, but it's somewhere around
$400 to
animal.
$500
Okay.
range. Now I'll tell you, according to the Humane Society, the average cost is close to $900. However, we offset that cost with a lot of volunteer labor, and we're not passing that volunteer labor
right.
on to Huachuca City, and that's why that number's a little lower.
Okay, thank you.
I did have a
Councilman Myers.
question. So, just out of curiosity, do they still have their own facility?
They
We
do.
gonna be taking them in when that facility is full, or are they bringing them straight to us?
So they don't. They no longer use that facility.
They don't have, okay, so their facility is either in op or they're just not using it?
That's correct.
So they're just bringing them straight to us?
That's correct.
Okay, and what was the number again of, what's the approximate number per year that we're taking in of theirs?
20 animals.
About 20.
There was one outlying year where they had a hoarding case, very unique situation, but on average, when you take that 1 year out, it's on average 20.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Chief, are the costs in Schedule A, is that just the marginal cost that it actually takes for each individual animal, or do you roll overhead costs into that?
No, the overhead costs are also included, and that includes the salary burden of the employees.
Okay, thanks.
More questions? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Go to, you have any questions there, Councilman Rodriguez?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, yes, sir. You go to item number 6, and it's the resolution 2025-081, staff report, Chief Heiser.
Yes, thank you. Mayor, members of council, with this particular resolution, I'm requesting approval of accepting a grant from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety in the amount of $77,854. This is a grant that we have been involved in for over 20 years now for DUI deployments. For this particular grant, $54,643 will be applied toward overtime costs, and then $21,857 are the employee-related expenses. That goes along with the salary burden, including reimbursement for public safety personnel retirement. And then in addition, we have $1,354 allotted for purchase of a preliminary breath test device and mouthpieces. Now, that particular device is used out in the field for testing drivers that are pulled over. Also, we use it a lot for youth impairment investigations to determine presence or absence of alcohol in youth that are under 21. These deployments, we participate regularly. In fact, Sierra Vista PD is one of the lead agencies for Southeastern Arizona DUI Task Force. And we use this overtime fund to put officers on the roadways during those 3-day weekends, holiday weekends, when there's a lot of people out on the road and we see more impaired driving. And I wanted to share with you some statistics from 2024. The Southeastern Arizona DUI Task Force deployments resulted in 196 DRE evaluations, 91 aggravated DUI arrests, 295 misdemeanor DUI arrests, 34 extreme DUI arrests, 6 DUI arrests involving minor consumption, 250 DUI drug arrests, 6 distracted driving citations, 155 vehicle impounds, 30 seatbelt citations, 8 child restraint citations, 97 criminal speed citations, 6 aggressive driving citations, 634 civil speeding citations, 987 other traffic offenses, and 193 other arrests, such as arrest warrants. Now, these were done countywide. We participate countywide, but that the funding goes toward that type of productivity. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions, comments?
I just have a comment.
Yes,
really
ma'am.
quick, yeah. I just wanted to point out that our ability to participate in doing this is possible with the off-duty officers that are volunteering to do this. So I just wanted to, let everybody know that they're volunteering to do this, and just to thank them for doing that for us.
Thank you. One more thing I'd like to add, if I may. Just administratively, you'll notice on the grant application, our accident data on that particular application is not the same as what I reported in my council executive report, because at the time of application, there's some validation still being done within our RMS. That explains that difference.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And does
Yes,
this
sir.
grant cover only Sierra Vista, or does it cover, are we
County.
leading the task force? And does it cover any of the expenses of any neighboring agencies that participate in the task force?
Good question. So the this particular grant covers the expense for just SVPD officers. Each individual agency pursues its own grant, but we deploy out to events, whether it be in Douglas for a special event, or Wilcox for Rex Allen Days. This covers our expense, but we all pool our resources on these deployments, and they're all operating under actually the same grant. It's just each agency has their individual grant.
Okay, thank you.
More questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Hey, Chief, you had the breathalyzer as part of the equipment on this grant. Is that going to be our only one, or is that one so that each car out there will have a breathalyzer?
Good question, Councilmember Kilmurray. We have several on hand already. We do an assessment of our inventory, so we don't have one per car. We have a handful per shift, and the officers on duty keep them in the sergeant's office and take it out with them. And so we were just due to replace one, but we are actually pretty well stocked with those.
Okay. So, and the personnel costs, basically what you're doing is during these periods of times, 2 per quarter for each one of the task force visits, you simply flood the zone with additional officers on overtime, correct?
That's correct. They go out on overtime, they deploy on overtime to work these details, and then we track that overtime with HR, or payroll, and finance, and we submit for reimbursement right back for that, for the entire cost.
Okay. And you had some goals to reduce the number of crashes. Is the idea you're removing the bad actors off the street, or the presence in the street is going to provide a deterrence?
Both, actually. So the high visibility is a deterrence. We broadcast this. We let people know on Facebook, we're going to be out. We're going to be looking. Be responsible. So there's a deterrence, but also the arrest of these individuals stops their repeat behavior. And so it's both.
One last question. Does the governor's office, are we prepared in any sort of way for the governor's office to audit the grant funds after the
Absolutely.
fact?
Absolutely, yes.
And how do we prepare for that?
So if they request to do a audit, we actually work with finance to provide all of the reports, but we do quarterly reporting to them, self-reporting to them.
And is that done through the city or through the PD?
Through the police department.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
One question, Chief. Those actors that are not willing to submit to a breathalyzer. Is this also, this funding also going to the training of phlebotomists, pulling blood?
So, yeah, we have a separate training budget for phlebotomy. We can pursue GOHS training for that, but this particular grant does not cover training this particular cycle.
Okay, yes, sir. Any questions?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And go to item number 7, Resolution 2025-082. Staff report, Mr. Fisher.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor McCaw, members of council. This is Blake Fisher speaking. Matt McLaughlin and Michelle Landis could not be here today, so I'll be covering this item in their stead. If you have any questions that staff here are unable to answer here today, we'll do some research and get those answers to you by the meeting on Thursday. Okay. To briefly summarize what's being proposed for this update to the annual action plan, the Montebello Fire Safety Improvement Project completed this summer under budget with $177,406.80 of remaining community development block grant funds available for reallocation. Meanwhile, Phase 1 of the Henry Jones Legacy Park has $132,660 of grant funding allocated for its development in the current program year. However, this funding amount is anticipated to not be sufficient to carry out the proposed improvements for the Phase 1 of that development. Staff, in concurrence with the recommendations provided by the Neighborhood Commission and as previously conveyed to Council during the annual action plan priority setting meeting, recommended the leftover grant funds from the Montebello project be reallocated to the Henry Jones Legacy Park Phase 1 development. The public comment period for this proposed substantial amendment will be concluding tomorrow, October 8th. No comments from the public have been received so far. So this concludes the staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments on this staff report?
One quick question. By how much do we think that it's falling short? You said it's insufficient to carry out the proposed improvements. By how much do we believe it's falling short?
Okay. As I understand, the proposed design for this park is currently in development by an outside engineering party, which we anticipate to be completed in December. At that point, we will have a better vision of what the total cost of the project will be at this point. But from preliminary assessments, it was determined that the amount that we had allocated for the project for Phase 1 with the CDBG funds alone would be insufficient to cover the tasks that we wanted to accomplish.
Do we have any ballpark at this time?
Not this time. But.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Myers, so we've got a pretty good idea and a concept plan for Phase 1 and most of Phase 2. We're looking at probably 3 phases for the entire park. It's not a very large park, but with funds like CDBG funds, we should be able to address it in phases. The first phase we're looking at, this should, it's a total of about $360,000, Blake. It's around there. You don't have to do math in front of everybody. It should do most of the front of the park, which is planned to be a plaza area, some landscaping, probably some landscaping along the street. There's a secondary project that is part of one of the FTA curb, gutter, and sidewalk projects that is taking care of the curb, gutter, and sidewalk along the Fab Avenue side. We're going to lay some foundation for future phases like conduit for future electrical needs and so on. So we're focusing on the front part. When the entire design is finished, we'll know what the rest of the future phases are estimated to cost.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. So the 132.6K, that was the leftover CDBG funds, correct? And then we'll make up the rest of the 300 some odd with city funds, or?
Yes, Mr. Kilmurray. That 132,000 was, Ms. Wilson, do you remember?
What was this year's allocation?
I think that was this year's allocation, and we are going to bump it up with the 177,000.
Okay, the 177. So the 177,000 is that from the CDBG or is that?
They're both
Oh, okay,
CDBG.
both of them are?
Yes.
They both are.
Just
So
2
now we'll
years
have
left.
310,000 for the next phase here, and then the hope would be to allocate another, next year's allocation then, to hopefully get us to completion.
And the design-
Completion's phase 2, correct?
Yep.
We also have $120,000 in the capital improvement fund budget strictly for the construction plan development. So that is separate from, this amount will go entirely to construction of phase 1.
Thank you.
More questions?
Quick comment.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to thank the Neighborhood Commission for their involvement in this, in making the recommendation, and to all the people that took part in the planning of the park and the comments we got a few years back to what they wanted to see there. So it's good to see this moving forward, phase by phase, as we can afford it. But I just want to thank everybody who's been involved so far in the process with their input. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments from Mr. Fisher? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
We're going to item number 8, Resolution 2025-083. Staff reports, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Item 8 and item 9 both involve the enforcement of city abatement actions under Chapter 150 of Sierra Vista City Code. So I'll provide a little bit of background about how that process works, and then I'll address each item individually if that's okay. So Chapter 150 of the Sierra Vista City Code governs property maintenance here in Sierra Vista. When properties are out of compliance, whether discovered through individual investigation or through citizen complaint, the city has a range of actions that can be taken to enforce the property maintenance code. Anywhere from voluntary compliance, reaching out to the property owner, asking them to clean up the property, to an administrative action, entering into administrative consent orders with property owners, to civil action filed with the municipal court, and then finally, in the most egregious situations, the city can take criminal action against property owners if they have multiple repeated violations over the course of years. And so once we've determined which course of action would be most appropriate, and typically, if the violation involves just like weed control or overgrowth, then we usually take the administrative course. If it doesn't involve the removal of personal property items from the property, then we typically just do the administrative course. However, if it does involve removal of personal property, sometimes what most people would consider junk, then we take it to the municipal court to get a court order allowing the city to go in and actually step foot on the property to remove these items. And so when the city incurs costs for these types of actions, those costs become a lien against the property. Those liens, by law, by code, have to be repaid in annual installments over the course of years, depending on how costly the abatement process is. And so with item 8 and item 9, the city undertook abatement actions, and I'll go with item 8 first. In item 8, the city undertook abatement actions in December 2020 and in May 2023 on property located at 903 Canterbury Drive, owned by John A. Williams, Jr. Some of the abatement activities involve just weed control and overgrowth. However, we did have to go to court on the second one to remove quite a bit of personal property, including a inoperable vehicle. And so the costs for that one at the time were just under $10,000 between the two abatement actions that we took. As of October 1st, 2025, the total, including penalties, interest, etc., is $12,531.81. This is money that comes out of the city's abatement budget, and in order to recoup our costs, we have in the code the ability to foreclose on properties if these amounts aren't paid. And so with this particular property, we're seeking authorization, or the city attorney is seeking authorization to foreclose its liens against this property to attempt to recoup the costs that have been incurred. Item 9 is very similar. This is a property located at 3011 Sierra Bermeja. It's a property owned by a gentleman named Rufino Dante Ong Jr. Over the course of several years, in fact, we had abatement actions from 2019 through this year. So over the last several years, and in fact, in 1 year we had to go back twice because it was overgrown that much twice that year. So we've had to perform abatement actions there. Most of this is the weed and overgrowth type. So we haven't gone to court for Mr. Ong, but over time, those costs add up. And so as of the end of this, as of the last abatement we had, the total cost for our out-of-pockets was $4,273. But with penalties, interest, et cetera, over the years, we're looking at, as of October 1st, $5,714 in costs. And so with both of these items, we're seeking authorization to pursue foreclosure on our abatement liens. The way that process works is we will send out a demand to these property owners, giving them one final chance to pay the outstanding balances. And once the 30 days, we typically give 30 days to come up with the money to pay these outstanding balances. Once that 30 days is up, then we file a foreclosure action with the court, asking the court for permission to foreclose against these properties and recoup the costs of our lien. Assuming we get a judgment on these properties or on the foreclosure actions, then we take the judgment to the sheriff for sheriff's action, and that can take a little bit of time, and I'll explain here in a little bit. I anticipate there are going to be some questions. So anyway, so that's the process. That's what the city attorney is asking for at this time with regard to these two properties and the liens that are imposed on the properties. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Yes, sir.
And so it's not going to be like a tax lien situation where we just allow Joe Citizen to purchase what the amount is owed and let that person deal with the owner, and then we get recouped what we have in it. We're going to deal directly with the owner in this situation, right?
So initially, yes, Councilmember Myers, yes. Initially, we deal directly with the property owner. If we do not get any response from the property owner, that's where we file with the court, and then it's in the court's hands.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is, in some circumstances, it's my understanding that let's say there's outstanding tax. Let's say that there's tax owed on a property. A lot of times the county, let's say, would sell the lien to at an auction. And then it's between the person that purchases the tax lien and the owner, and then the county's out of it. We're not going to do that, right? We're going to engage directly with the owner. Is that how we do it here?
Yes. Okay. Councilmember Myers, up until the point where we actually get the judgment. Once we receive the judgment, we turn it over to the sheriff's department for enforcement.
And can you walk me? And I know we discussed this one time prior, but just can you tell me one more time, or tell us one more time? Let's say that we have to go through the whole thing and we have to enforce it all the way down the line. Let's say that we have to force the sale. Can you explain to us how we get remunerated and how the owner gets their piece of what's left over?
Absolutely. I do. Mayor, members of council, I'm happy to. So once it's in the sheriff's hands, the sheriff has a process. There's some notices that have to go out, and then they hold the sale. The liens that we are owed become our credit bid at that sale. And so we essentially have a minimum amount that we will receive, and it's the amount that's owed us from the sale. And so the sheriff will say I'll use the Williams property, for example. So the sheriff will say the minimum bid for this property is the $12,531. Next year it's going to be higher than that when they have the sale, but $12,531. And then anybody who shows up to the sale can bid higher than that. We're only entitled to our $12,531.
Yes, sir.
Any excess proceeds that are generated through the sale go back to the property owner.
So if the house is worth, let's say, $100,000 and it sells for $23,000, we're going to get our $12,000, and then the person that so the owner is going to be out a significant amount, but they're going to get anything that's generated above what we are due.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Nathan, do we have a threshold before, or threshold criteria we use before we go after, actually take legal action?
Councilmember Kilmurray, there's no threshold in the code. However, anything below $3,000 to $4,000 just really financially isn't worth pursuing yet. And so we typically wait till we have several years worth of liens at several $1,000s before we will pursue a foreclosure.
So if they sold the house, so we have a lien against them for $3,000, they sell the house, we're first in line to take that lien back on the sale, correct?
Yes, we get paid out of the sale proceeds, yes.
Councilman Rodriguez, you had a question?
Oh, yes, just thank you for the, first of all, I mean, I appreciate all the patience from the neighbors that have been dealing with these properties and for years. And I wish there was a way we can, and if there's any way we can do to expedite this process, because it's been too long of this process happening over and over, and they're getting over by coming in the last minute and paying what they owe, and the cycle starts over again, which is super frustrating for the neighbors who are trying to keep up with their, make their street look nice and doing their part, but they're unfortunately having to deal with these properties that are uninhabited. I want to make sure that's clear. There's nobody living there, so nobody's getting kicked out of their house. But I just want, if there's any way to, along this line, we're doing this, to make sure that we have a note somewhere to expedite this, wherever we can, because it's definitely been a long time in the coming. And code enforcement has done a great job over the years of taking the complaints from the neighbors. And I know it's very, very frustrating, because I've talked to the neighbors about how long this process takes, unfortunately. And I think, they've had every opportunity within their rights to get this thing done, and they still haven't obliged on their end. So hopefully we can finally get something done to move forward and get these properties looking a lot better. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
One last question. So what is the timeline then? Let's assume that this gets approved. What would be the timeline then once it's approved?
So timeline will be within the next week or week and a half, we will have the demand letters sent out to the property owners. We give them 30 days to respond. If they don't respond within the 30 days, then we'll have the action filed with the court probably 45 to 60 days from now. And then once we have the action filed with the court, we have to serve the property owners, which adds another 30 to 60 days for them to respond. And if they don't respond to the court action, then we can seek a default judgment, which takes another month or so. So you're looking at anywhere from 4 to 6 months before we get a judgment on these.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mayor McCaw, members of the council, and to get, that's a really good point that Councilman Rodriguez raises, and it gets to Councilman Kilmurray's question as well. What's the threshold? $12,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money to go after on a $100,000 or $150,000 property. But the problem is the length of time it takes and what the neighbors have to put up with over a long period of time to try to get these things done. And we're bound by state law and all those kind of things too that add complexity to the situation. So at some point we have to try to do these things just to get these things cleaned up and hopefully get responsible ownership in there. Second point gets to Councilman Meyer's question regarding tax liens that the county sells, and we have taken advantage of that here at the city as well in terms of purchasing liens from the county. Most notably, we've used those properties in partnership with the Cochise College program for construction and have been able to turn some pretty bombed out properties into decent housing, particularly in Frytown site. So we have used that process as well.
Thank you.
More questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, Nathan, were you able to gather the questions I asked you, or otherwise I can wait till Thursday?
Yeah, no, I can answer those today.
Okay, so in the last 3 years, how many times have we initiated foreclosure?
Okay, so I'm going to break it down by residential and commercial, right? So as far as residential properties, in 2022, we had 0 that we initiated. 2023, we had 1. 2024, we had 1. And then this year, if we do these 2, then it'll be 2.
Okay.
And there were 0 commercial or industrial properties.
And how many times were we successful and actually got the money back, where we did this whole process that you just explained?
Right. So for the 2023 tax lien foreclosure, we're still working with the county on getting that sale happening. That got mired down in bureaucracy, I'm going to say. So we're still waiting on that one. The sale should happen in the next 60 to 90 days on that one. The foreclosure we filed in 2024, the property owner came in literally at the last minute and paid in full. So we got, I don't know, $4,600 out of that one. And then obviously for these 2, we haven't been fully paid. But typically, the last one previous to 2022 that we did was in 2019, and we got fully paid on that one as well.
Are any one of these previous offenders?
No.
Okay.
One of them is involved with a previous offender, but they were not the same property owners.
Can you clarify? You've told me though before these are previous offenders. They're just not previous offenders on your stats, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. So Mr. Ong Jr., for example, he's been an offender for the last 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
Right. We just haven't taken action against him.
You've taken abatements on them previously. It's just that this is the first time maybe that they've come up for this sort of action and a vote.
To foreclose the lien,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
So really, this isn't about the money, it's what Mr. Patuchuk said. This is about taking care of our citizens, taking care of the neighbors, so Sierra Vista remains a good place to live, right?
Yes, yes. And typically these are, and in this case, these are 2 vacant residential properties that just bring the property values down. They bring the cleanliness of the neighborhood down, they bring the property values down. Vacant residential properties invite problems, and we're trying to stop those problems.
Any more questions, comments?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We'll also do.
Hey,
Go ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
one last thing, because, again, this is, the timeline is not very, it's not very quick here. But there's anyway, that one, the first property, that is on Canterbury, that the front door is wide open. That's crazy that it's still wide open. Is there any way we can do something about that in the meantime, at least close the front door of that property to where it's not just exposed and anybody can just walk up in there? Is that possible? Can we do that legally? Just that one thing?
Councilmember Rodriguez, in the past, we have secured properties that we have abated. And so, Mark, I would just get a hold of community development, go talk to Jessica, and see if she can get a sheet of plywood or something put on that door.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it has a door. There's just so much junk spilling out of the front of it that it won't close the door. That's all I'm asking, is if we could just move that junk, that soda machine, all that stuff that's kind of spilling out of that house, just enough to close that front door at least, so to at least, remedy some kind of nuisance or tragedy, unfortunately, hopefully never, but in the future, until this thing gets done.
Yeah, I can talk to community development, and we'll see what we can do.
Thank you very much.
So we joined the 2025-083 and 084, but we will vote on 2 separate.
Yes.
Thursday. All right. Thank you, sir. And then we'll have our call to the public and comments from the council. And for tonight, we have 2 presentations. First one is the clubhouse design study. Mr. Tony Boone, sir.
Went to sleep. All right, Mayor and Council. So this kind of wraps up several months and quite a bit of discussion about the Sierra Vista Golf Center's clubhouse. You'll note, and for the public, I'm only going to cover about 12 slides or 12 pieces of information that come out of this. This is about 76 pages that was included and is also out there for the public. You'll note some of the courses of action and some of the things that are in the actual study are not in what we're going to talk about specifically tonight. And understand, as things changed over time, things and courses of action just quite frankly didn't work at the end of the day. So we'll walk our way through that. All right. So from an overview perspective, really this came back from guidance, and it's really rooted in the strategic plan from the previous council and the look and feel for conference or meeting space. And then, of course, as we did the transition with Castle and Cook, the element of can we use the clubhouse and can we kind of achieve that purpose? You know, one of the elements was can we get 150 or 200 people seated? That was kind of a target set, and I'll explain kind of where that issue comes in. We worked our way through with Shive Hattery. You can see the cost. The production window was really a little earlier than that. We had a couple challenges to get this thing rolling. But the study itself ran through June of this year. And then the published goals for the project really talked about modernizing the existing clubhouse, as there are many things at the Sierra Vista Golf Center that weren't taken care of over time. For those of you that have been in it, it really hasn't seen a significant amount of attention. We also looked at the best course of action for our operations. And then we looked at where we can phase this thing over time. And within the current budget, there is $1 million set aside for the clubhouse renovation. So limitations. What's interesting about this, the limitations were well known as they built it, and yet they have moved forward. I think I mentioned it before in discussions with Mayor Hessler when this building was put in. His exact comments were, A, it's too small. And then if you're going to build it that way, build it so you can expand it. Well, they did neither one of those two. So here we sit in 2025, and the mayor was very correct on that. So two significant issues. We had the opportunity to go through with the structural engineer early on, and then, of course, it was revalidated with the architect as we move forward. One, those trusses and the way that that building is laid out both offers a really nice look as you move in, but with the load-bearing walls in the middle, the opportunity to open it up for a conference space for 200 or 300 people just isn't structurally there. The other element is that lovely tile roof that is on top. You can't just extend things out. So we looked at, could you just extend a room out? Well, you're going to extend it at 8 feet or below. So it just, again, interesting design, works perfectly well as a clubhouse. Significant challenges as we move forward. So this one kind of talks about that. And you can see even Shive Hattery specifically called that out. The structural framing makes expanding existing very challenging. So we kind of worked our way through that limitation, and we've come up with a couple different alternatives and solutions within that. So for those of you not familiar, the folks or the public watching, really this is the overall site plan. We've already talked about the former courts / future parking lot. We didn't really include the cart garage or the existing locker rooms. There is men's and women's locker rooms in there, and we've had some discussions about where we can go with that to the west of the clubhouse. The existing pool house, just under 1,400 square feet, currently as it stands, 2 bathrooms that need some attention and really just a covered space. And then, of course, the pool house or the pool itself has now been demoed and covered. So this is the current floor plan, just kind of as a reference. The red lines were tied to demo, but this was kind of the all-inclusive. If you notice the way the building's been designed, it's balanced. So what is on the left is equal to the right. And again, that kind of comes down to the way it was set. We're all probably very familiar with the small banquet room on the right. Kitchen, as it is, has been left. Dining area to the back. There is storage in that northeast corner, both cold storage and dry. The bathrooms, you come back through that hallway near the pro shop and the office. And then the pro shop, of course, here, separated from, hole 1, 18, and the like. So it's not really well designed for a public golf course. So to move forward on that, really to maintain continuity of operations, and that was the bigger concern. We want to ensure that both food operations, golf operations, and even the meeting space would continue during this operation. We looked at the pool house, and if you look in the very faint blue line, I can show it on the slide, that is the current footprint. There are 2 bathrooms, men's and women's, and then that middle area is just covered. So we took the existing footprint there and looked at the capabilities to maintain all of the operations in one spot. So golf course, driving range, pro shop, a small bar, an eating area, and then of course upgrading the bathrooms. And then that would allow us also to have outdoor activities in and around where the pool was, if you've seen it with the artificial turf, or in other spots. We need to start this first, and that's why we sequence this way, so that we can maintain all of the other operations while we're moving into the clubhouse itself. So you kind of get a line on that. These are a couple drawings. We looked at indoor-outdoor space. Again, the final designs have not been done. These are only concepts. But the intent was to make it indoor-outdoor, flexible space where you could get a drink, you could set up for your golf round, you can get additional range balls, or just have lunch at the end of the day. So again, indoor-outdoor, we'll see where that one goes. But I kind of really like the way the design was to maximize that space. It also, if you go back to the line where the putting greens are to the range complex, it really kind of creates that very much outdoor space, indoor-outdoor, and an event space on that right side of the clubhouse. So again, some pretty interesting opportunities there. By starting there from a process, then that allows us to go back into the clubhouse, and in the yellow are the bathrooms. And if you've seen those, you come off that back hallway, not accessible, not very ADA compliant, not really easily tied in. So that would be one of the first elements with an opening to the center. If you've seen, the pictures will follow. If we've been to Culinary Dropout in Tucson, very similar. But again, kind of a needed necessity to bring this up to standard. That would allow us to recreate the meeting space on the west side of the building where the pro shop was, between the pro shop and then that hallway. So from a sequence perspective, we could do the bathrooms, do that side, go back and fix the eastern meeting space. Your end result is you end up with 3 meeting spaces that could be independently operated or together, somewhere between, well, we've probably pushed 90 plus people into some of those spots. But I mean, again, those are 8 tops that they've got in an example. But it does give us great flexibility. It gives Parks and Rec great flexibility to run different programming, different events, both inside that building. If you took it to an extreme of, say, a 200-person wedding, you could literally do that outside, and of course, most people would like to sit together, so that's a bit problematic. But if you ran a 200-person conference and had breakout sessions, you could use the conference space. But again, the clubhouse is not optimal, but we're trying to get it as close as we can. So these are just kind of some updated concepts on the entryway. Again, we put the hand washing stations outside, bathrooms behind it. That was that small conference space as you come into the facility. But again, it opens that complete side up. Conference space, again, hasn't been touched lately. So some of it would be paint, tile, flooring, and some ceiling to kind of bring that one forward. And that's just really the example of the one on the right as you come into the building. So the cost opinion, and I want to be very clear, there's no RFPs, there's been no cost or specific estimates. These are, in fact, just that. So I included the opinion disclaimer. So as you look through these, they came out with the pool house renovation just under $700,000. The line below that, we looked at raising the entire building and starting over. And they came back with about $70,000 more to do that on that same footprint. That would free us up, tied back to the next piece was a little over $200,000 to reorient those restrooms. The good news is the plumbing's all on the backside, so really we're just flipping the building itself or flipping the bathrooms themselves to reduce cost. And then that 460 was the estimate to round out, demo the other room and bring fresh paint and the rest to the rest of the facility. Overall, talking about a little over 1.36 in the estimate itself. You can see the phases, and again, we've kind of walked through, or I tried to walk you through and how that would go, but really design phase would be next for all of it. Then we'd have a little better on the cost estimate side. The range house itself would be constructed. That would provide the bathrooms, the operations for both the golf center and the rest. They would move to occupy, clearing out that space. We'd do demo, restroom upgrade, and then we would round out the rest of the building. Even at this point, trying to push forward, we're looking at 2 FYs. So this would begin in this fiscal year and would be completed in next fiscal year. All right, ready for your questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So at the beginning of the slide presentation, it said this is a win-win for the city and the golf course. Can you explain what the win is for the city for $1 million investment?
Well, it's probably multifaceted. One, we need to put some money in the building to protect it as an asset. It's just like any other building, whether it's your home or your residence. Without putting additional funding into it, we've just got to protect that side of it. The second part is it provides those meeting spaces that we can use for our programming. It provides those meeting spaces for the community, and then it offers some interesting flexibility to that facility itself. So from a community perspective, as opposed to one room that you can rent, you really have 3 spaces at the end of the day.
So we have the Community Innovation Center, we have the Legacy Foundation is going to have large meeting spaces. We have multiple restaurants in town, so now we have the city competing with commercial businesses. So I guess my question is, do we have a need? And over time, where do we recoup our $1 million? At 2%, I know 2%, 4%, 6% over the years. That's a $50 million revenue that this place would have to generate just by itself for us to recoup those costs ever.
Well,
And I just don't see $50 million ever coming out of this.
Well, I think you have to look at it too on the $1 million. One, the bathrooms don't meet the standard, right? And we, the city, maintain that businesses, and we get to do that with our friends in community development. So I would separate that out. That's just something that needs to be done, quite frankly. The paint and bringing the facility up, I think, again, is just general maintenance. So, I mean, if you're going to parse that out, then I guess I would argue that it's not the complete $1 million. So from a facilities perspective, again, it probably is the nicest building and from the indoor-outdoor side. So I don't know if it would be a competition side. And again, Laura and I've talked about it. I mean, it may be free activities. It may be family-oriented activities. And again, how do you put a dollar value on that?
Well, I put a dollar value on it by putting a dollar value on it. And there's an investment is exactly that, is an investment, and you have to recoup your investment. And so my question is, from a dollar value, how would we ever, because we're not in the business of being in business, we're in the business of being a city and providing services to the city, and this is a business. So, I mean.
Yeah, just to, I see what you're saying, Ken. I don't see it as a competition. There's a lot of the places you mentioned, they can hold more people in one central location. They don't have a kitchen on site, and there's different needs that this meets, and it's in the strategic plan for the council to have a conference space. This is something we've wanted for years. This is really addressing one of those items and making it so we can move forward with the rest.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I think it's important to remember too that we already own this facility. So if we own it, it's currently inefficient and doesn't meet ADA compliance. So the bathrooms aren't compliant and they don't meet federal code. So if we invest what appears to be a relatively small amount at this point into optimizing the space and offering more choices for the community for conference space and small event space, more choice is always a good thing. We've gone from having almost no choices to having several choices once this is upgraded. So we haven't found that competition really seems to be an issue here. It's people are going to choose the space that works best for them, and more choices are often better than none.
I've got a question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step over you, Mayor. I've got a question. So I'm trying to look at this. What's our long term? Are we looking at improving the facility so that we can eventually, as the city matures and grows over, let's say, a 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 year plan, that we can make improvements on the golf course in this clubhouse and maybe sell it to a private investor and recoup all of our expenses and maybe make money on it? Or are we going to just hold on to it for the next 50 years to 100 years and it's going to be the city of Sierra Vista's baby all the way until all of us are gone and the next generation of Sierra Vistans own it? I mean, to me, we should, I understand why Sierra Vista stepped in and did what we did and took it, but I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, do we want to make the improvements necessary and try to eventually move it forward to someone else to take over in the long run? What's the plan there?
Well, Mr. Myers, I'm not sure about a plan per se, but it also is important to know that as the course existed, nobody wanted to buy it. So,
but as we mature the city and the city grows and maybe there's new infrastructure and maybe more housing, I mean, in the next 10, 15 to 20 years, do we always hold on to this? Is it always going to be the city of Sierra Vistas?
It's the first time we've been in this situation. So,
well, let me take a stab at that, Councilman Myers. We obtained this course. We got it for a relatively low cost, around $600,000 in forgiven debt. It appraises right now at about $2.5 million as a golf course and facility. So obviously, we knew going in that there were a number of issues, both on the course and with the facilities, that would need to be addressed because, frankly, they've been neglected for a long period of time. So, and of course, if we didn't take it, then there would be weeds growing out there right now, and that wouldn't be a very, very good thing either. So when you look at it initially, there are investments that need to be made for us to operate it, maximize and optimize both the look and the facility and the usage for the community, which is the primary thing. I think some of that has already been achieved by the amount of play that's increased since Paradigm started operating it. Also, if we make these improvements and improve the usage, it could be saleable in the future at some point if there was a buyer out there, which currently there is not, and we don't know when that could happen. But let's say some developer came in and wanted to develop Tribute, and somehow that occurred, and they approached us about and made us an offer. We would be foolish not to listen to it, right? But the way it sits right now, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I think that Councilman Kilmurray has a very good point. If we're just investing money that we're never going to recoup, I've got an issue with that. However, if we're making a $1 million investment, but there's the potential that in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years that we could potentially get a buyer that maybe is willing to pay, double that.
And I think shorter term, you have to look at the community benefit and the community's usage of the facility. Right now, it's not being optimally used as it can be under the plan that Mr. Boone has put forward. So more people can come in, weddings can be done, more events can be done, revenue can be generated. Are we going to generate $50 million? I have no idea. But, you know, at that point, when those improvements are made, I think it is a more marketable, you know, facility. You know, and maybe sometime in the future, somebody will want to take a look at it. In the meantime, what happens if we do nothing? So that's an alternative as well. So if you want to do nothing, then how much is this going to cost to upgrade later?
But there's a difference between $1 million and nothing. And so, you know, that's the continuum, obviously. We talked about, hey, we need to bring this up to ADA standards. We need to bring this up to code. But do we really need to bring it up to the, you know, a very top-notch golf course in Sierra Vista? But my point is, it's not all or nothing. You know, it's not $1 million or nothing. You know, maybe it's 500,000, maybe it's 200,000. You know, to paint it, to bring it up to standards.
Yeah, and that's true, and I think also this can be done in phases. As Mr. Boone mentioned, the first phase is $700,000. It moves the operations area out, creates you know, more space to be able to be used primarily by Paradigm, can bring some outdoor activities where the old pool was right now. I envision actually 3 fiscal years, not 2, because and if we do it that way, do the design this year, do the range house the following year, and then do the other improvements the third year, I think it spreads out the costs over a number of budget years and makes it easier for us to deal with from a budget standpoint.
Could you remind me again what our cut of revenue is, how that increases over the years? You may have that offhand. I don't
It's
remember what it is.
2% for this year and next year, then it goes up to 3% for the following 2 years, then 4% from there on, of gross revenue.
Yeah, gross
Total
revenue,
gross revenue, yeah.
not profits.
Mr. Boone, I've seen on the plan that there's no renovation to the kitchen, but we're expanding the meeting rooms so they can seat more. Walking through that kitchen, it's kind of small. Is there any plan to make a bigger kitchen?
Mr. Mayor, the short answer is no. However, if you look, we've tried to optimize it the best we can at this point. If you look at the range house, there is a small kitchen-esque that would allow Paradigm to do some of the routine food elements. So if you're doing lunches or, you know, just quick grab and go or supporting the golf course, a lot of that would come out of the range house. That frees up the main kitchen to allow it to do larger events. We still have the same issue at the end of the day. If you drop 300 folks, and as we've seen with some of the larger events, they've got to bring external caterers in. And again, that was some of the consideration when we sat down with the architect. It sits in the middle of the building, and moving an industrial kitchen and upgrading it adds a lot to the cost. So we had to make some trade-offs with that. We worked with Paradigm and the operators to make it the best we could. So from a routine perspective, to support 2 or 3 small banquet rooms in the current operations, it would fit, and I think it would still be functional. Again, I'm not a master chef on that one, but it was designed to be able to handle that. The larger events, you're still going to look at bringing an external caterer in to support.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I have some comments, if I may. We're doing the best we can with as what Mayor Mueller called this yummy shit sandwich that we have. So we're doing the best that we can, and I feel like so much work and thought and time and effort has went into taking this and making these improvements. We can't make improvements overnight. It's incremental, and you know, you do these incremental improvements, and then pretty soon, like, oh wow, look at this. But I've seen a lot of positive changes at the golf course. Lots of people going there, lots of people coming there, and I feel like it's becoming more accessible to people that are not just golfers. I'm not a golfer. My spouse is a golfer, but I'm not. But I really appreciate the presentation and all this information that we were provided. And then one of my concerns was the kitchen, because it is that kitchen cannot handle that many people. But if we're going to be able to bring outside caterers, which is cool, and then the pool house concept I think is really interesting as well, because now that the driving range is what it is, like back in the day, it was not fun to be at the driving range unless you're really into it. But now where it's at, you can hang out with your friends. They'll bring you food down. But having that pool house there, like right now, if you have to go to the bathroom, it's just right there. You can just go there. So I think that concept is a really interesting concept, and I personally like it. I feel like it fits in with that area. There's the putting green, which is used. A lot of people use that putting green. There's 3 putting greens, but a lot of people use that area. So it's a lot. I've seen a lot more things happening in that area, and so I feel like having something like that can bring a lot more people in, and having that food area, because sometimes you're out there, you want some like mozzarella sticks or something. You don't need anything fancy. Basically, you just want to drink and you want to play golf or have fun. So I think that is really, really, really a cool idea. One of the best things about the golf course is hanging out like on the patio and outside. And so I think having that, taking advantage of that is really, really nice. People go out there on the weekends on brunch or whatever. I think that's really cool. And it's rather unfortunate that the kitchen is so small and we can't really do anything with that, but can't really be helped. And the clubhouse was never a priority for Castle and Cooke. It was like probably like the bottom of their list. But it's been a very important part of a lot of people's lives, and in that vicinity as well, it's used a lot, and more people, and that circle of people using it or area, whatever, it's expanding and getting bigger, and I think that's really nice to see. The clubhouse itself, it's like back in the days is like the theme or something. So I think if you have to make some improvements on something like the bathrooms and put money into that, then why not make some of the other areas look nice instead of having them looking like old and stuffy and like, I don't know, like your grandparents' house. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe that. I don't know. So I think that is really cool, and that a lot of people use the banquet room. For a lot of clubs use that. My husband's work, they would use that every year for their Christmas party. It's really nice, and so it's not that great of a place, but there's so much potential. It's like down here, and the potential is way up here. So I think that is great. And as far as the pro shop, I feel like that area where it's at, it's not. I mean, it can be used for better things than that. So I feel like it's a really great way to move it to the former the pool house. And the way that the clubhouse is set up, when you arrive, it's confusing if you've never been there before. And maybe if you've only been there a couple times, it's still very confusing. Like, where do I go if I want to eat, if I want to play golf or whatever? So I think having things be more obvious, and I feel like that's a really good place to have like people check in. They want to hit some balls or do some putting and then play their game. I think that's really cool, and I feel like that would be a really great way to use that space. So I really feel motivated about the future, about the possibilities. I know it's just concepts and things can change. It's just an idea. It's not, we're not going to like go with this, no changes. It's just a concept, and I like that. One of the concerns that I have looking at it is, it looks like there's just one urinal in the men's room, and I feel like for all the details that are put in here, I feel like that is something that probably we need probably a whole lot more than that if possible. So that was something that kind of jumped out, because the most of the people that go there, they're men. So I know that with the women's room, you can never have too many toilets. So, of course, that's great to see. But that was just something that I noticed. And I'm like, that's probably something that, for the concept, if we can add some more in there, because I imagine that in one urinal, you're not going to get a bunch of people gathered around. So I think that's something that really caught my attention right there. But yeah, I really appreciate all the work that everybody that has been involved in this has put into it to do what they can with it and to make it where it's going. It's just had its 1 year birthday or anniversary recently, and I feel like during that time there were still a lot of things that have been figured out and just kind of going, and I feel like with what we have, there's been a lot of things that have been done with that. So this is kind of a short story long here, but those are just some of the thoughts that I had about it. I know that, it's not, we can just leave it and let it just crumble to the ground. I feel like that would not be the best thing for us to do since we have acquired it. So I think that in order to be good stewards of this property, I think that we should put some effort into making it look a little bit better. And down the road, if it's doing great, I'm sure that if somebody wants to get it, I'm sure that that would be great for us and for them. So, yeah, those are just some thoughts that I had, but I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. She said a lot of what I was thinking. But I belong to 4 different clubs that meet in that little room on the side right now, and it's getting more and more popular. And so I love the addition of, and the balance. I like the symmetry of having another conference or meeting space, banquet hall, and more room to host different groups simultaneously, or maybe just overlapping briefly. The bathroom, I also was like, it's a bar and a golf club, and
People are not
that
that
might
good
be enough for the
friends,
guy. But I like what I see so far, and I know that I really appreciate all the questions that my fellow council members brought up and concerns. But at the end of the day, this is still a very limited budget for what we're trying to achieve. But we're a city, and we're supposed to, when we can, provide not just services but amenities. We're really fortunate that we can provide the football field and the soccer fields and the really wonderful library that we have, and the Cove. We might be the only municipality with, maybe the first municipality with an indoor swimming pool, which cream puffs like me really appreciate, because I don't have to just put a bunch of sunblock on all the time. So I know that it's not like, I don't see this as necessarily, oh, we're not going to make our money back or whatever, but this is just another amenity, and maybe we won't see the value in it, but there's going to be indirect value. There's going to have a ripple effect, because it's going to draw people in, and people spend more money when they're attracted to it. We're placemaking. We're bringing them in. They're attracted to it, and then they don't just go to one spot. They go to other places, and so I like all the work that went into this. I had a question about the old pool that's like just flat now. Is that so? The hypothetical new range house, the entry would go out that way towards the old pool?
So Mayor Pro Tem, where you currently walk into the cover, it's actually going to push towards the range, or to the putting range.
Okay.
So that open space, and again, we've talked about it conceptually, that front spot could be reset for an outdoor wedding space, but no, there's no intention to build there. We'd have to go through some significant compaction and engineering work on that. So really, it's to take the slab as it is and then move to the north, from the bottom to the top on the slide.
Okay.
Make sense?
So you're saying you would not build on the old pool site?
Correct.
Okay, because I'm not an engineer, but it's always been my understanding that if you try to build on an old pool site, it's just very, not a good idea.
No, correct. And again, as we looked at it between both the structural and the architect, again, we were trying to work with the budget that we thought we had.
Unstable, I guess is the word I was
correct.
Yeah.
But again, if you go out and with the artificial turf, it's actually changed the complexion very quickly. And we've walked it, and if you put 120 white chairs out there and an arch, you could have a beautiful wedding, and then move out from there. So
use it as outdoor space.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So that space, both from there through what would be the range house and into the putting green, would be really one space in and of itself. And really quick reminder too, the next step in this process is really the hard work and the design. So the physical design of the facilities to ensure that we cover things like how many urinals or restrooms. The technical expert, based on where the plumbing is, will drive an actual cost estimate, and then we'd have to go back out for a request for proposals for construction. So, there's a couple steps along the way, and again, that's why I wanted to make sure that we understand and that the public understands when they look at the numbers at $699, it is an architect's concept from 6 months ago, and quite frankly, construction is moving left and right all the time. So again, as people try to quote these numbers at 1.3 or 1.4, it really is just a concept.
I just want to add I'm not a huge fan. When you go to design of this see-through partition,
With everyone's washing their hands.
yeah, like that's
And where they
weird.
just-
Just like,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're like staring at the
Yeah,
other
that's
guy.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
That's-
maybe
I-
not
yeah, that's
carry
true.
this one over with the.
And again, just a concept. It's interesting because that particular, this is cilantro, I think. There's those that love that cool idea, and there's those that don't love that one. So it's been a very interesting one to see.
Italian cafe in Tucson that does that. Up on
So
Campbell.
I know people love it because clearly, like, this is featured in here several times, so
Friends.
somebody loves it. But
Cafe
I'm just
Girl.
I wasn't.
No, and in that case, I mean, clearly you could pull, I mean, the way that's designed, you could pull the doors out to the hallway. So, I mean, again,
Oh, yeah.
simple fix.
But, yeah.
Any more questions, comments?
I got one
Yes, sir.
more. So we talked about a lot of things that we like about the design. It is beautiful. And going to the golf course, I love going to the golf course. But one of the things I don't like in our city is riding my bike through the West End or Friend Township, and our roads are junk. I don't like driving down Highway 82, and because it's a state highway, we don't, as a city, put money in to maintain highways that's going through our city. There's a lot of priorities that we have in the city in a period of declining revenue. And how many times we've heard Chuck say, hey, you know what, the budget's getting tight, the budget's getting tight. And so when we're talking luxuries, and I would consider this a luxury, everything about expanding the golf course right now is a luxury. And where we have needs that are also being unmet within our city. I keep looking over at Sharon because everything I think about in the city comes out of her budget, and how much I would really like to add to that part of the budget, or parking lots around the ball fields for parks and recreation. And these are all priorities that we have to balance as a council, obviously. And some of those, some people would consider them needs. Some people would consider paved parking and drainage around our very expensive, very nice ball fields to be a requirement also, or a need versus a want. So
I would like to just say one more thing, and I'll probably just end it in my part here. And I agreed with everything you said, Councilman Humphrey, or Pro Tem. I think that as a city, we're supposed to offer these sorts of things to our citizens. However, where I kind of differ just slightly is that my personal philosophy would be more in line that as a city, we should be trying to attract individual business to offer these things. I personally have, that's why I kept trying to say, what's the plan? What can we offload this to business? I just have an aversion to government run something like this, where we're in the business of running this golf course. I'd personally like to see us. Yeah, we did what we had to do. It was prior to my arrival here. We did what we had to do because of what Castle and Cook did. We stepped in. We kept the disaster from the property values plummeting, and I get all that. But at this point, in the way I look at it is like, how are we not trying to find a buyer? And I could also understand what you're saying, city manager, that maybe nobody's interested in it, but trying to spark some interest in this to get it out of our hands and into the hands of, investors to take it over and get it in their hands and out of our hands, and so that we can get on with the business of running the government and letting, private business run that. That's how I view it. That's why my line of questioning is always, it almost seems adversarial to where the other side is coming from. But that's how I'm thinking of it, is like, I just don't see how, we want to hold on to this golf course. Everyone's looking at it like, well, we'll make all these investments, we'll do all this. And I'm thinking, well, are we going to hold on to this for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years? Or are we just making these investments so we can sell it and get it off our hands and get it into the hands of private business where it belongs? That's how I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think we would have preferred that way. If a private business came in and was
But
like,
that
yeah,
was
we'll buy the
then,
pro-"
but
Right.
what are we doing now
So
to
I
try to
think-
do that?
I think making it more attractive and fixing it up and coming into compliance with ADA and different regulations, I think that makes it more attractive in the future to private industry. But it's also something that, knowing that we were going to make improvements, was something that enticed our private partnership. I don't know that they would have been as interested in partnering with us if we weren't planning to make these changes ahead of time, and that we didn't already have the goal of conference and meeting space, city-owned. It's funny because when we put it in the strategic plan years ago, I'm like, that's never going to happen. And then this happened, and now we're actually seeing
Well,
it.
and now that we own it, I'm all about doing what we have to do to rehabilitate it to make it sellable and make it profitable to us. If we bought it low, let's sell it high, but everything, in my opinion, should be done with the goal of rehabilitating the property so that it's so that we can make a profit off of it in the future, in the short-term future, the shortest possible term future.
Yeah, and that would be great. And I understand what Ken's saying. There's so many competing interests, and sometimes we're restricted on what pots of money we can spend on what. It's funny, the West End, about half of it right now, the streets look beautiful, and then the other half is like coming up, so it might look a little, and we're currently in design for Theater Drive. I know a lot of cyclists use that to connect it from 7th into town, West End, so I think there's things that even, you brought up, there's a lot of needs, and we just, that is why this job is so important. We're always just doing the best we can to try to prioritize all those needs. But it never stops.
I know what you're talking about. It goes back to of being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. And that's our focus. And also our city manager bring it up, because right now, the thing was built in the 80s or probably.
Yeah, 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
And it's way out of code. So, and I like what you said, get it prepared as we're going forward to make it presentable to any buyer that will come in and take it off our hands. So, yeah, I understand.
All right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, Mr. Mayor, basically what we're planning on doing, with the consent of the council is to go ahead with the design process. You'll get another bite at the apple, obviously, when we get design plans along, and we'll, of course, have more sessions like this, so you could talk about it. The numbers will be refined. I was actually shocked that the numbers came in as they did. So I hope we can get it for that, because those are really good numbers. If we had to rebuild all this, oh my gosh, that would be something that we probably wouldn't be able to do, like looking at another community center or something like that. So, the numbers are good, and our job is, to meet your strategic plan goals to the best of our ability, and also to not, break the bank when it comes to the budget, and try to do that in a fiscally responsible manner. One other thing I want to point out, we're engaged in a number of things that we would not have been engaged in as early as maybe 2 years ago. We have a contract with GNA. Who would have ever thought we would be in the business of partnering for homelessness? That was just not something we did. The golf course, Castle and Cook decided to bail out. We were left with this, out of nowhere in the middle of a strategic plan and budget cycles. There are other things that are coming up that fall in that same category of entities that are struggling or failing with important assets in the community and nowhere to turn but the city to help out. So our job is to try to balance all those needs to the best of our ability, continue to make our community attractive to bring in the type of private, enterprise activity that we'd all like to see here.
Yes, sir.
Can I make a request as you move forward with the design? Can we have a bronze option, a silver option, and this I would consider the gold option to give us some latitude as we're looking at how much money we really want to spend on construction? You know, we have the minimal, we have the ADA compliance, we have paint, we have bringing it up to code, and then we have this. And I'd like to see at least two options.
I'd second that.
Yes. No, and that's, I mean, Councilmember Kilmurray, that's why we built kind of the phases.
Yeah.
Because again, if you think about it, if we don't do, for instance, the range house, and I take those bathrooms out for several months, then we've got to come up with porta pots or porta johns and try to work our way around it. So yes, is the answer. So we'll look at it based on phases and kind of sub projects, and then we'll try to assemble it the best way we can.
So we're at 4:30. Can we go 30 more minutes to get through council executive report? Census?
Yes.
All right, cool. Good, thank you. Good. All right, thank you, sir.
Councilman Rodriguez have anything to
Oh,
add?
Councilman Rodriguez, do you have anything on the clubhouse design study?
Yeah, thank you. You all made great points, and I love hearing all the discussion. I just agree that I feel that we're going in the right direction with this. You know, just, there's so many points here, but, you know, $1 million will buy maybe 200 feet of road in this economy, so it's kind of hard to compare that to, and I agree, there's a lot of things in our city that need love, that need money put towards it, but when talking about spending it wisely, I think if you can get that much done for that much money versus like how much a road can do right now for $1 million, it's not going to get you a lot of roads, or not a lot of anything really. And just making the attractiveness of our community. For one, I mean, we jumped on this grenade like you mentioned before, and that sandwich that was given to us. We put some tahini on it, and now it's going a little bit better. And I love seeing the community involvement out there, all the things that they're offering for everybody, because it definitely is changing the culture out there, and I love seeing that it's doing well. And I love that our partners are doing all that thing. And in the executive report, there's a big long list of all the things that they've done to improve it on their end, which is great as well. That's what a partnership should be. Both sides helping each other for one goal. And you know, there's a lot of venues out there, but you got to also understand that, you know, if I'm going to book a wedding, if it's just me, if I have a place that's as beautiful as that, I'm going to probably pick that one. And also, there's been a few places that want to rent out places that they don't. There's things you got to look at, like maybe they don't allow alcohol at some of these places. And if you want to have a party or a venue that requires alcohol, they don't allow it there. So you definitely got to look into that too. But I think it's going in the right direction, as well as offering something for, you know, to attract people to our community, attract professionals to our community, which we've struggled for a long time. Just look at the hospital when it comes to like us wanting to make sure we keep bringing all kinds of professionals here to our community, and this just is a good asset for we have for right now. And if Tiger Woods ever wants to come by it, I'm sure that would be a great idea for everybody, and hopefully that will happen in the future. But if not, I think we just got to do what we got to do to make sure it looks good, and I think we're going in the right direction. Thanks.
Excellent. And we'll proceed to item number Charlie, council executive report, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of the council. Interestingly, since we're 1 week into the government shutdown, I have, been questioned in various places about how that is affecting the community and the city. And my message tries to get to that a little bit. So on one hand, the answer is no, it's not really affecting us. Our largest employer, our partner, Fort Huachuca, is obviously still has to operate, being a national defense asset. So from the military perspective and our local economy, no, we're not being affected that greatly. However, we as an organization are affected in a number of areas. And that primarily has to deal with the grants that we're receiving in some of our initiatives, like the spaceport license with FAA, other airport-related grants. We have transit grants. And then, of course, the water issues and grants that we're working with as well with federal partners like Bureau of Land Management and USGS, Forest Service, and others. So, those things get put on hold. They draw out the time, that it was hard enough getting them to work on it to begin with, and now they're not. We had to cancel our water meetings this month because a number of partners simply wouldn't be able to work on it. So we're looking at that. Hopefully by next month that'll get going. But obviously that does create an impact for us in a number of areas that we have a lot of initiatives and a lot of federal interplay with. So that does affect us. We talked a little bit about budget and budget numbers, and our actual July numbers weren't too bad when we saw retail sales go up 3.62% year over year, and that also included food. However, we're also in a process of absorbing the loss of revenue from retail rentals, and as such, that brings us back down to flat. So on one hand, you can kind of see maybe a little improvement or a little good things going on, but of course, when you're dealing with the legislature, then that's something else that we have to overcome. So not all that bad considering it's in the summer months. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. And obviously, there's a lot of good things, as you have mentioned in the report, and staff is here to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions, comments? Yes.
I always try to make comments about the report. It's always a really great, it's got a lot of great information. So there's just a few things I wanted to kind of point out. One of the first one is about communications staff and how they custom designed the Officer Bowser school zone signs. So I thought that was really, I guess I didn't realize that they did that. So I thought that was really, really cool. So well done on that. I see them around the schools, and I like to, it's always cool to see them, and I feel like it will catch people's attention and hopefully make them slow down when they're in those zones. So yeah, thanks for doing that. And then I wanted to point out the employee spotlight in the leisure department for Jacqueline Lindum, also known as Jax. She is a certified water safety instructor, and she helps with teaching children different school swimming skills and different things like that. And I guess she's so well liked that they've kind of started calling her the Cove Mom. So I think that's really cool. It's great to have somebody there that the kids are comfortable with to help them to feel better in the pool and kind of get those skills so they can. I think that's a really good skill to have. I don't know how to swim. I think that would be good if I did. So I'm glad that people like her are there to be there to help the kids and to be make them feel safe and welcome. So thanks for all that you do, Jax. Moving on to the next employee spotlight. In the Sports and Aquatic Division, her name is Antoinette Kalama. She's the administrative secretary, so she does things like phone communications, processing registrations, different divisions. She helps across different divisions. So I thought it was really cool to learn that she started out as an intern in the Tourism and Economic Development Department, and now look where she's at here. She was actually promoted to her current role from where she started. So I thought that was really cool to see that. Having that intern program can really bring people in and let them try different things. So it seems like she is really happy where she's at, and she's made a really good fit there. So a little bit about her: she's actively pursuing a business administration degree at Cochise College. So I think that's really cool. We're cheering her on, and hopefully she'll get to the end there and be able to walk across the stage to get her diploma. Other things that she does, it says in here that she does yoga, and I've seen her at the My Community Yoga Studio down on 92. I've seen her at a few different classes there, so I think that's always great to see our people out and about in the community supporting local businesses and stuff like that. So just wanted to share that shout out for her. Another comment I had was It's on page 43, and it's the violations map. And I haven't seen this before, so I thought that was really cool to have it in there. We have the code enforcement, the violations in the table, which is nice, but some people are more visual. And so I think to have it on the map to kind of see where all of those are at, I thought that was really cool. So I really appreciate that. It kind of brings things to life a little bit more. So yeah, I just wanted to say that I appreciated seeing that in there this time around. And then again, in the police department, I really appreciate how seriously Officer Bowser is taking his job as parole officer. I've seen him around a lot, and he brings a lot of joy to the community, to kids, and even to me too, as you probably know. So I really appreciate that. I think it was one of the best things that the police department did was to bring him on staff. So yeah, I really appreciate seeing that. I think it's a fun way to bring attention to things, and I think sometimes we really need some of that. The last thing I wanted to comment on was in the police department, Officer Fausto Cuevas. He was selected as the first full-time traffic officer. So in December, he's going to be attending a 2-week motorcycle enforcement school through the Highway Patrol. And so once he's finished with that, he'll be out on the motorcycle. So I think that'll be really cool to have that out there. So. Thanks, Officer Cuevas. We'll see you on the roads, I guess. And that was all I had.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I had a question for
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
For Public Works, I'd sent you the questions before. What were the costs on the bus service per rider over the years?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Murray. I pulled some numbers for you. They do require a little bit of explanation.
Should we just take it offline then? Maybe put it as a
that would work if you want to put it in as a council inquiry, or
Okay.
we can go ahead and convert it to that. It does require a little bit of explanation.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's a little bit more complicated than just a numerator and denominator. And the question I asked is for the bus service is, how much money are we spending per rider on this, both in Sierra Vista money and our federal money?
And the grants.
In grants.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the future, in case we lose some of that money, what would we be doing as we plan ahead? Something that's very important with that. For Parks and Rec, do you know what percentage we list the revenue in the report, but do you know what percentage of that is like $250,000 of your total budget for Parks and Recreation is made up of actual revenue that we get back from the users?
Council Kilmurray, are you referring to the amount that we get just from like our rentals and things like that? This is the number for the 2 months.
Yeah, so that's the revenue for the 2 months, but what is your 2-month overall budget? How much of that is of that
applies
revenue?
to the entire between both major divisions?
I guess Parks and Recreation is the only one that brings in revenue, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Well,
just
that kind
that
of
one.
revenue. I mean, Public Works does some revenue, and we do permit revenue through community development. There's
That's
some
included
fees.
in that number also.
No, that would just be from my
But
department.
that's what I meant.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just that number under Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, this is Councilmember Kilmurray, excuse me. This is definitely just from my department as a whole, from all of our revenue collected for those 2 months. We still have some accruals on the books, but we only report during the months that we actually bring those in, like for future ball field rentals, different parks events. We allow people to make deposits or enter into agreements with us, and we only report on the revenue that's actually received during those 2 months. But as a portion of our overall budget, I would have to go get the exact number to give you an exact.
I'm willing to take just an approximate.
But I know that we do not have, I would actually need to see what our revenue goals would be probably to answer that, because I know that we're upside down.
Well,
We don't cover all
Yeah,
of our
you don't
costs.
cover it all with revenue.
No.
But is it in the range of it? Is revenue 75% of your overall cost, 50% of your overall cost?
Jen, do you know?
Actually, I thought that was going to be an easy
Off the
question.
top of my head, I believe all of Parks and Rec's revenue is about 1.1 million out of the 129 million.
Is that,
So
is that over a
you're-
two-month period? Or?
No, for the entire year.
Yeah. Okay. So if we extrapolate out that larger number, okay.
Yeah,
Get a lot of
and-
revenue.
And Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kilmore, the reason that we're kind of looking at each other is because the kind of costs that we are looking at, like if you wanted us to take in the personnel as a part of our budget, or if you just wanted to take in the O&M portion, that would allow us to get you like a more
Okay.
accurate
Yeah,
number.
I
on
understand a
that.
little bit better the complexity of the question. then.
Yes,
We can get it, though.
yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll write it out a little bit clearer and send it to you for an inquiry. then.
Sounds perfect. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Thanks, Jen.
And then the electrical drops. So we see that. So there's a drop from 22 or from 20. I'm sorry, I'm talking to you, Sharon.
Oh, sorry.
So we see a drop from 23 down to 24. Is that when the Snyder electric efficiencies actually kicked in? And then we see a little bit of a bump up in electricity costs. in
Mr.
25.
Mayor, Councilman Kilmurray, so the Schneider project, first phase actually started in 2019.
Oh, okay.
So and then the second phase followed behind that during COVID. So those have actually been in place for a while now. Unfortunately, right as phase one was wrapping up was when COVID hit. So then you have a very difficult time separating out the respective impacts because a lot of city buildings were either shut down or being lightly used during that time. And then the other factor, which I talked about in the report, is the wholesale fuel cost adjuster and what that can do to costs in any given year, depending on what that looks like. I will tell you that the Schneider project did have guaranteed savings associated with it. So I'd have to talk to Laura about those, but it did have guaranteed savings from Schneider on those bills.
Okay. Code enforcement. Well, we don't have anybody from
Yeah.
committee. When they do the code enforcement, is it purely citizen reported, or do we have like a little golf cart that drives around?
Or they have their own vehicles.
It's a mixture, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kilmurray. I mean, I think it is primarily driven by complaints, but our code enforcement officers do drive around if they see something.
Right, like if somebody calls and they're out and they'll address the call, but then if they're like driving down the street and they see some growth out of control,
They are
they'll stop
proactive.
and
they'll
address that
address
one
it.
too, like while they're out.
Yeah.
So we do some.
Yeah, they are proactive.
It's mostly
From the city
it's
also.
mostly reactive. Yeah.
And then on the map that Angelica had pointed out with all the code enforcements all over the city, I noticed that none of the HOAs are in there. Is that because the HOAs are self-policing, or we don't even really look at the HOAs from the city perspective?
Pretty much the case. The HOAs do take care of their own
Yeah.
generally, and generally they have standards as well, so you don't see that people pay for. So it's
I was just happy it's not all on the west end. You
Yeah.
see how it's a little bit of everywhere?
yeah.
And then for Chief Jones, I had a question about the fire numbers, or the response numbers. They look like something happened with, on House 202, has a spike in falls. And that looks like an outlier. Is there something special, unique about that firehouse where we would get that many more fall calls than everybody else?
Member McCaw, Councilman Kilmer, yes, there is. The demographics of that area are a little. We have your Winter Haven, your Pueblo del Sol area. So the demographics over there. We also have 3 of the, I think, 5 assisted living facilities in that area as well. So that's probably why the fall injuries are such as that.
Okay, and that's why we see the changes. There's a lot of changes between the firehouse and the types of calls that they do. So is that typically explained with demographic changes?
Yes, it usually is changed within demographics, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to cut all my questions short.
Not a problem, sir. Not a problem at all. Any more questions, discussion now?
Just a quick one.
Yes, go ahead, Mark. Councilman Rodriguez.
Great. Obviously, I love this product. It's always good, full of good information. I start off, I guess, page 18 was all the things that I mentioned earlier. Thanks for Paradigm for being a good partner, listing everything that's been done so far. And then page 36, the neighborhood partnership program, Sunshine Rotary, Interact Club from Buena out there cleaning up the food forest. I'm just looking forward to that thing, growing literally as the future goes on. But it was getting kind of covered in weeds and looking kind of bad, and it looks great now. So amazing job by that for everybody that got involved, and I love seeing those community projects. And then page 52, talking about the calls or certification of necessity. The numbers, just every year they keep going up and up and up. So I want to thank the firefighters and EMS division that are working really hard. Every time I pop in and look at the call log, that thing is dumped all the time. So the other day it looked like the closest response was like from Benson. That's how stressed out our call volume has been. So I think it's important that we continue to make those improvements that we need to, obviously, to Station 4, because it's needed very, very badly if you just look at the numbers. And then page 56, the CRT, all those seizures and convictions and fugitive apprehensions, which, as you know, some of those have related, unfortunately, it turned out in some standoffs in our community recently, but they do an amazing job keeping everybody safe and get those people off the street. It seems like a lot of people like to come out here to our little town to hide out, but it looks like CRT's finding them and getting them out and making sure our community is staying safe. So I want to say a big thank you for everybody involved in that. And then page 57, it seems like traffic collisions are going up. I don't know if it's one of those things where I thought, are they reported on more? Do we have more media outlets that catch them now? But if you look at the numbers, they're definitely going up, which obviously has some effects on insurance rates and things like that, which is not good news, but at least it's good to see that they're tracked that way, and even by intersection to help us point out maybe where there's some more enforcement needed at what time, things like that. And I like how on the next page you have that we're able to have a full-time dedicated officer now to doing more traffic as well, to help in those areas, because Officer Bowser can't do it all by himself. So I'm glad that is happening. And just like Chuck mentioned earlier, how the shutdown will affect. I'd imagine that with all the military people and government civilians that aren't getting paid, and maybe they're not sure if they're going to get paid or not, that may have an effect on people's spending habits this next month or so. So I'm sure we might see something like that. I would think tied to that. I would hope not, but it is what it is. And then just also was mentioned in the thing was the bird banding, and I was looking at some reports from the budget that's trying to be passed or not passed right now, and it seems like there's funding from bird banding that wants to be taken out, which I hope doesn't happen, and also the data get deleted to save space for whatever reason. So that's an amazing project that's been done for years and years, and really provides us really good data about our community and not only the birds but just our ecosystem. So it would be sad if those bird banding things just went away, because they're so beneficial. So that's all I had. I'm trying to make it back into town for National Night Out, so maybe I'll see you guys out there if you're there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We'll see you there. Yes, Councilman. You had your hand up?
Oh, no, I was just because I didn't know if I didn't know if Councilmember Rodriguez had anything to add, so yeah, that's all. I'm good.
Any other questions? I'm good. All right. Item number Delta, report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. None? All right. Go to item number Echo, future discussion items and council requests. Ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor McCaw. I currently have nothing on my list now that we have crossed off the clubhouse renovations. So currently nothing for your last 3 meetings of the year. Could change.
All right. With that, we'll see you at National Night Out, which starts in 7 minutes. We'll see you on Thursday. Thank you.